Welcome to full spoilers for Jurassic Park. I wasn't going to do a video on this, but quite frankly, I am just so baffled that Jurassic World Dominion, the third installment in the Jurassic World franchise and the sixth installment overall in the Jurassic Park franchise, is as bad as it is. It is absolutely dreadful, and it is without doubt the worst Jurassic Park movie of all time, and I'm not quite sure how we got to this point. I think it's really important to hype up good blockbusters when they're not made by Disney, because currently they own Marvel, they own Star Wars, and they just dominate the blockbuster landscape, and now they own Avatar, so like it's just really important when something like this comes around, and if it's good, you know, I think you need to praise it, which is why I made my Top Gun Maverick video. So this stings a lot for that very reason. I cannot believe how dreadful it is, and it's with a heavy heart that I have to say all this stuff. I really don't understand how you can't make dinos unleashed upon the world really exciting and a really fun time, yet somehow they've managed it. I think the key word here might be locusts. My god, the whole movie is just obsessed with locusts, to the point where it kind of betrays its premise. I was not that interested in the Jurassic World movies. I feel like Jurassic Park's become, you know, a bit withered as it is. But the idea that the dinos have escaped out into the real world and they're living amongst us and they're infesting all of our cities, that's a really cool, massive scale problem, which I think warrants, you know, a sequel, and it also sort of gives us a reason to sort of expand the world and push the story further. But instead, the movie feels like it's running away from that at every possible turn. There's some news footage at the start with lots of different dinosaurs in various like iconic places, like we've got pterodactyls nesting in Freedom Tower and stuff like that, and then the rest of the movie doesn't really go into that. You don't really get much with major cities or places where the dinos are skulking around. Even the finale to Jurassic Park 2 has that. You have the T-Rex in New York, right? This instead opts to have one sequence in Malta, which, to be fair, is pretty good. It's probably the best scene in the movie, even though it comes in about 40 minutes too late. I was watching it thinking, why did we not start here? Dinosaurs all across the planet. That is an incredibly gettable concept. We don't need to really do too much digging and provide too much context there off the back of the last movie. But anyway, we have the Malta sequence, and then the entire cast gets shuffled to this like this new laboratory retreat type place that's sort of like surrounded by snowy mountains, and the whole point of it is that it's cut off from the rest of the world so that Bayona, I think is the company in this, the Umbrella Corporation, can work on these dinosaurs and create some, you know, awful things because they're evil. Why? Why is the finale not in a major city? Why are not all of the set pieces anywhere other than a jungle setting? We've seen that for literally 5 movies. I feel like the whole point of hyping up this premise is so that you can see Chris Pratt on a motorcycle going through Malta with raptors chasing him. That was the part in the trailer that I most wanted to see, and it turned out to be like the best action sequence in the movie. Everything after that is just in the retreat. And the movie can't quite work out whether dinos infesting the Earth is like an apocalyptic scenario or just a minor inconvenience. They kind of play it both ways, and the tone is kind of similar to the previous Jurassic movies, but you kind of sat there like, the world is kind of ruined, and everyone's just kind of taking it on the chin. People are still kind of going about their jobs, and the news footage just kind of implies like, oh, how are we meant to live with all these dinos everywhere? It's like, I feel like there should be something more dramatic in that. It's really strange. And then, of course, instead of focusing on dinosaurs going global, we instead have so much time devoted to locusts, which are oversized and eating all the crops. And that is the thing that's kind of established in the film as the doomsday scenario, that if this happens and all the crops die out, then the whole world's going to be doomed. And it's like, why? The whole franchise is about dinosaurs. I like me some oversized monster insects any day of the week. You know, give me some naked lunch. That sounds great. But in Jurassic Park, I kind of want it to focus on the dinosaurs. I don't understand why this is so baffling to me. I was watching it like, really? They're really going down this road? And then it's not only the locusts are like the catalyst for everything happening, but they pop up throughout the rest of the movie. Like Ellie and Alan have to go and take a sample from the locusts, and that's why they're at this lab. Like everything plays into that. That's the way they're going to take down Biosyn, and it's just kind of like, why? Like no one cares. They hyped up the fact that the old and new casts were coming together, and it really amounts to nothing more than some cringy interactions where they say the same lines at each other, or they, like, you know, tell each other how the other is so great. Like, oh, I'm Grady. Yeah, no, I heard you're the raptor trainer. Oh, Alan Grant, you're this, like, da-da-da-da. Like, there's no meaningful conflict between the old and new casts, and nothing really... There's no arcs to speak of between them that make you feel like it was worth the price of admission to mash these two eras of Jurassic Park together. Also, they spend most of the movie apart. There's no clear protagonist and no clear thrust to the story. You have lots of different things going on at the same time that we're cutting back and forth between. You have like Maisie Lockwood and Blue's baby get kidnapped, and then you have Alan and Ellie go to meet Jeff Goldblum's Dr. Ian Malcolm, and then they go off and do something, and then Owen Grady and Bryce Dallas Howard meet the new Indiana Jones character, and then they go off and do a thing, and then it's all slowly building towards them getting to effectively the new Jurassic Park. But none of it feels like it's got any thrust. It doesn't feel like we're building towards an epic finale, probably because the main threat is to do with this locust plague. There's just not really many set pieces that stand out to me, other than a moment where Bryce Dallas Howard's character has to hide underneath the water and hold her breath when this like gigantic predator dino is gonna eat her. That's quite nice. The aforementioned bike chase with the raptors is pretty good. But other than that, I can't really think of any standout set pieces. Which is funny because, you know, you take a movie like Jurassic Park 3 that was mauled when it came out, and I haven't seen that movie in years, but I could still pick out loads of moments to you, like when the raptors realise they can climb above the door to get the main characters, or when they can't work out why the phone's ringing and they turn around, it turns out it's because the giant dinosaur, I'm forgetting all the dinosaur names here, you can comment below what the dinosaur names are for each given bit. They realise it's in the stomach of the dinosaur and that's why it's ringing, or when, you know, you've got the dinosaur behind the glass tube and you realise it's actually alive. All these kind of different moments, you know, and that's like, that was considered the worst of the franchise for the longest time. There's loads of moments from that are memorable, like the what's the flying dinosaurs called? I said it earlier in the video. You know what I mean. When they come out of the fog, great moments, absolutely fantastic. I think, you know, Jurassic Park 3 pales in comparison to 2, which pales in comparison to 1, but it's still a 3-star movie for me with some great sequences, which is worlds away from this stinker. I actually think if you were to rank the Jurassic Park movies, they'd probably go in chronological order. I was pretty certain that this was the worst Jurassic Park movie ever, but I hadn't actually seen I keep wanting to say Jurassic Park. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I missed it in 2018, I guess because I was just swept up in the Infinity War hype, and oh, what a hype it was. But yeah, I finally watched it for this video just because I wanted to be absolutely certain, having seen all of them, that Dominion is the worst one. And I can safely say that it is, because at least Fallen Kingdom is watchable in the same way Jurassic World is watchable. The opening sequence gives us the dinos, it gives us what we came to see, and I like the ticking clock of the volcano that's going to destroy Isla Nublar, and I also like that there's this question of, even though the dinos are the threat throughout the series, when they're presented with becoming extinct again, you know, is there this question of should we save them? Should there be conservation for these creatures? That's interesting to me. I think where Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom falls apart is that that's only the first half of the movie, and then the rest of it is like a haunted house style thing with the Indoraptor. I think I nailed that. The whole movie should have just been the ticking clock with the volcano, because that's easily far and away the best stuff. And then at the end of that movie, they set it up really nicely that now dinos are out in the world, And that's kind of all you need. I just want to see how humanity reacts to that. The news footage at the start of this movie was enough for a whole movie. And it also is enough to beckon the old cast meeting the new cast. Whereas instead everything just feels so desperate to go any which way but the premise. It kind of reminds me of 2016's Batman v Superman, in that the opening scene of that movie firmly establishes why Ben Affleck's Batman would go up against Superman. He's seen the destruction of Metropolis. He doesn't have the context to know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy out of the two people fighting in the sky. He just knows that Superman is to blame. I totally buy why he would then think, I need to get myself some kryptonite, I need to take this fucker out. Whereas instead the movie is obsessed with the bullets that were found in Africa and whether or not Superman killed these people, and we're going to have a trial for it, and Batman's umming and ahhing about whether he's going to do it. I really think that movie would have been stronger if the fight that's reserved at the end between those two characters happened in the first 30 minutes, and then from there it's about them working out, oh, well, if we've both been tricked into fighting each other, what happens next? I want to see Batman and Superman teaming up. I don't really want to see them fight, just as much as I want to see dinos walking the earth, if that's what you're telling me the premise is. I don't want to see Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler dissecting locusts. The locusts. I don't understand. Why? Why locusts out of everything? Dinosaurs Unleashed upon the modern world is enough for a whole trilogy of Jurassic movies. This could have happened in the original Jurassic Park 4, Jurassic World, and it could have continued across a trilogy, and they could have done something really awesome with it, and it would have felt completely different to the original trilogy, whereas instead, each film feels like a progressively worse knockoff of the very first Jurassic Park. And we've now gotten here where it's just nostalgia baiting us with the old cast meeting the new cast. Very little of note happens. There's not much chemistry between the characters, even amongst the old cast. All of the romances fall flat. The villain is Richard Parker from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He does absolutely nothing. He actually tapers off from the main plot towards the end, and we keep cutting back, seeing him try to escape, and all that amounts to is him getting killed. And you're kind of sat there thinking, oh, is he going to find a way to wriggle out of this situation and test the heroes even more? No, he just dies. There's really nothing more to it. You could have killed him off much earlier in the movie. He does nothing. I understand some of you have been commenting recently, like, oh, you just keep complaining about things, like, you don't seem to be very pleased at the moment with all of this stuff. And I just have to say, like, you know, like, if something comes out that is genuinely legit good, then I will praise it. Like Top Gun Maverick. Go out and see Top Gun Maverick, even if you've already seen it, over seeing Jurassic World Dominion. Because Jurassic World Dominion is not good. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it is, just because, oh, you should be more positive on the internet. It's the same thing with Kenobi. Kenobi's been disappointing, it's gotten progressively worse. And, you know, you get people commenting like, you should be lucky that we're even getting Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm like, what does that mean? We're not lucky to get anything. We should, you know, be given these things, and then, like all art, we should ingest it and then decide whether we like it or not. And if we don't like it, it's okay to talk about that stuff. You know, like The Boys is out at the moment, and week to week that's just smashing Obi-Wan Kenobi and proving that something can be paced like a TV show, and it can have lots of characters, and they can all be serviced, and the plot can go off in different directions that does excite us and is not what we're expecting. Kenobi hasn't shown that at all. And it's just the same with, like, you know, Top Gun Maverick. This movie is like the anti-Top Gun. Everything that Top Gun Maverick does correctly and delivers on as a top-tier summer blockbuster, Jurassic Park Dominion, Jurassic World Dominion, God, that's confusing, falls short of all of those expectations. And I just feel so sad for Colin Trevorrow, because I read Duel of the Fates recently, the episode 9 script that was ultimately unproduced, and it was way better than Rise of Skywalker, for one thing, and I wished it had been the road that Lucasfilm had gone down, but it's also way better than this movie. And I feel sorry for the guy, because this kind of was supposed to be like his comeback after that episode 9 fell through, and it's been 3 years since then, and look what's come out. Just an absolute stinker of a movie. I was bored in the first viewing. I don't think I'd ever have any desire to go back to it. It's just so thoroughly unwatchable. and tepid in a way that not even the first 5 Jurassic movies are. Like, even the worst parts of those other movies, you can kind of sit back, relax, eat your popcorn and marvel at watching dinosaurs eat people. But this has very little of that. And I just feel like it feels so self-important, and it feels like it's got to be like the final installment to like all 6 movies and try and make out like it's all been leading up to this. But ultimately, it just feels of such little consequence. Like, nothing really happens. And I don't feel like it even really addresses the state of the world now that dinosaurs are free. There's like a kind of a line at the end where it's like, oh, we should just learn to coexist with them. I'm like, that alone should be the whole premise. Like, can we coexist with them? How have our lives gotten worse by the presence of dinosaurs? Now, let's just talk about locusts instead. Everyone came here to see locusts, right? I mean, the movie is doing really well, so I guess that is something. It's nice to see some blockbusters making some bank that are not Disney-fied, but at the same time, it is still a sequel to a long-gestating franchise, and it's not very good. What I would really like are some blockbusters that are completely original and that knock my socks off. Is that too much to ask, Hollywood? Can we get that next year? That would be lovely. Even Top Gun Maverick's a sequel. Oh. Just painful. Painful. I hope we don't get a movie worse than this summer season, because that will be such a pain to sit through. I can't imagine, I mean, touch wood, I think I'm going to eat my words, but I can't imagine a movie coming out this summer that's worse than Jurassic World Dominion. Anyway, that's my review. It sucks. There's really not much else to say. If you like being bored to sleep, then maybe this has got something for you. Otherwise, I would suggest watching any of the other Jurassic Park movies. I would suggest watching Top Gun Maverick in cinemas now, and downloading Sniper out on all platforms. A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike. If you'd like to donate money to my Patreon, you can find me at patreon.com/fullfatvideos. You can also find my thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi week by week on the Full Fat Podcast, which is the sister channel you can find under the Channels tab in my YouTube channel. That's the Full Fat Podcast for Obi-Wan Kenobi.